Welcome to an episode of the Barham High School Alumni Series podcast, a series that shines a light on the inspiring journeys of our past students who have gone on to do extraordinary things. I'm your host, Brendan Yu, a previous student myself and now principal of Barham High School. Today, I'm joined by someone who truly embodies resilience, passion and community spirit, Daniel Searle. Daniel was our 2005 school captain, and since leaving Barham High School, his journey has taken him across the world, from the Southern Cross Games in New Zealand to the Blind Cricket World Cups in the West Indies, India and Dubai. Despite losing his vision at 16, Daniel never gave up on his dreams of becoming a physiotherapist, and today he not only works in that field, but also advocates for accessibility, volunteers in sport, and raises funds for causes close to his heart. You'll hear about NASA Space Camp, blind triathlons, guide dog advocacy, and what it means to turn challenge into purpose. Let's get into it. So, Daniel, welcome and thank you for joining us today for our one of our alumni series for our podcast. Just recapping back over Barham High School, what were you like as a student at Barham High?
Well, in many respects, I guess it feels like school was yesterday, but in reality, it was over 20 years ago. So it's hard to exactly put a pinpoint on what life was like for me at school. I think I was probably a pretty quiet kid. I did all right at school, but never really wanted to stand out too much, never wanted to draw too much attention to myself. I think I was a reasonable student. I enjoyed my time at school. Sometimes it was a struggle, other times I think probably like every other student, I think I was fairly average student, I think, in many respects.
It's one of those places you appreciate how much of a input it had in your life when you get older too. I find as being an ex-student myself.
Yeah,
Did
absolutely.
did you have any special subjects or particular classes that you enjoyed the most? Were you hands-on sort of in the prep areas, or did you enjoy your sciences?
Yeah, well, I guess having that sort of very interesting transition of losing my sight midway through school really changed the way I viewed my education and the way I participated in schooling, and really presented a lot of challenges that before that point I could do reasonably well at most things without sadly having to put as much effort as I could have. I really always liked maths and science, and that probably presented a big part of the challenge to my identity and my learning style, I guess, because a lot of that, I very much was a visual learner. Like if I could see something, I could get it pretty quickly. And yeah, that's a big part of really maths and science. When I could write something down, I could understand it. So that was a big challenge I faced when I lost my sight in year 10. I still have a big passion for maths and science, and I guess why I went into health and science-based subjects and stuff study post high school.
Yep. And so you actually did year 12 over 2 years, is that right? Over 2005 and 6? Is that how it worked for you, or you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, obviously I had that big challenge of losing my sight in 2003 when I was in
Yep.
year 10 at the time, and sort of there was a big discussion around finishing my year 10 certificate, which I did okay with in the end. And then there was a sort of thoughts about what I would do with my work experience, and then thoughts about plans beyond high school. And there was a discussion initially around the idea of doing my year 11 and 12 rather than doing it over 2 years, doing the year 11 and 12 over 4 years. I'm a very proud and stubborn
Yeah.
person and
Yeah.
didn't want to, stand out in any way, and thought I was just as capable as everyone else and was determined to prove that. So I was a little bit affronted by that suggestion at 16
Yeah.
years old that I had to take extra time than other people. So I guess determined to prove people wrong, I chose not to take on that option, and I did year 11. I took on 7 subjects in year 11 just after losing my eyesight. I failed dramatically, and it was a big wake-up call for me. It wasn't a nice thing to happen, but in reality, it was probably the wake up I needed to know that it was going to be okay to do things slightly differently. And then from that point, I chose just to do the year 12 component over the 2 years. So I did 3 subjects one year, 3 subjects the other year, plus I did Braille as a year 12 subject as well.
Yeah, oh, awesome. And you're actually one of our school captains as in that time as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of that. I sort of always enjoyed sort of leadership and representation opportunities. Was part of the student representation representative council for a number of years. Did some volunteer work and stuff outside of school. Was also on the student council in primary school, and really liked those opportunities to represent other people and to try and speak up and have a voice. And that was really important to me. I really wanted to be school captain, and
Mhm.
I wasn't really sure how that would go. Obviously, I'd changed as a person, having lost my sight just prior to that, and it was really nice to feel valued and endorsed by my students and teachers and stuff, that they would still see me as taking on that opportunity to be school captain. So I'm really proud of that.
It's an incredible journey what you've done. And you felt supported. What were you with your early ambitions for finishing high school? What sort of supports did you have from the school and the staff and the community, I suppose, to finish off year 12?
Yeah, look, it was a huge challenge, and it wasn't without obstacles along the way, because it was not just new for me, it was new for a lot of people, and we were
Mm,
unsure about how to face those things, and what supports were available and what was going to be the best way to do things. I guess it's, again, as I say, it doesn't feel like that long ago that I was in high school, but 20 years ago, it wasn't commonplace to see computers and laptops in every
mm,
classroom, sort of thing. So it was still of an era where you'd take your own notebook and handwrite all your notes. So
yep,
suddenly I didn't have that available as an option to me. So I was lucky that I got a laptop and got computer software that reads everything back to me. So screen reading software, and it's still the same software that I use to this day. So I was lucky enough that, at the time I was the only student in the class that had a laptop, and I had this software available to me. Again, it wasn't necessarily commonplace that therefore work would be available in electronic format. So I had to make sure teachers were getting work to me early in a format that I could read on my computer, because if they were just
yep,
coming to the classroom with books or printed handouts, then I wasn't going to have it there ready to use at the time. So sometimes that presented challenges. I think from my perspective, everyone I worked with had good intentions and wanted to do the right thing. It's just
yep,
that sometimes not everyone knows what the right thing is.
yep.
And that's been a really good lesson for me ongoing as I worked into university and into the workforce, that I think most people come from a good place. It's not necessarily that they have ill intentions. It's maybe that they don't always know what the right thing to do is. So sometimes it's up to me to learn more about what inclusion looks like and what good access is, and
Yep.
that's helped me be more confident in being able to articulate my rights and help make things more inclusive for people.
Yeah. So when you start to lose your vision, how did you face those challenges day in, day out? Did you was it as it's a huge thing for a young kid to go through that. What sort of how did you face the task of those challenges?
Oh, well, initially there was just probably a lot of denial, to be honest. Like, it was
Yep.
playing sport like tennis and squash mostly, that I was sort of noticing week to week that it was getting a bit harder and harder to see the ball, and that bothered me, because sport was really important to me and a big part of my identity and what gave me sort of a sense of purpose outside of school.
Hmm.
Um, and then I was finding even little things like in the classroom, if I had to read something off the front of the classroom or read something out aloud, I was really struggling with that. And again,
Yep.
I didn't like to stand out at school. I don't think anyone really
No.
does. So it was embarrassing if I felt like I was getting something wrong. But even at the time, I just probably assumed that, I'd go get glasses and it would be okay. And I think, it's glasses had become more and more commonplace in classrooms, that to see people wearing glasses is not a big deal. So that didn't sort of stress me so much.
Yep.
It wasn't really until that time when I started trying out various magnification through the optometrist, the ophthalmologist, the doctors, and none of it made any difference, that I started to worry about what was really going on. And even, I guess, through that period, there was a long time where I just thought I'd probably wake up tomorrow and it would be fine. So it was pretty stressful. I was lucky that I had pretty good friends around me that could help sort of just learnt to tell me things in advance. And so I probably didn't think about it. And it wasn't till one day I distinctly remember when one of those friends wasn't there and I had ag and I tripped over something. And it was just sort of one of those moments when I realized if that friend was there, they would have pointed out that thing before I tripped over it. And because they weren't there, I sort of realized how dependent I'd become on other people and how I needed to be more honest about what was going on and find more strategies to be able to, advocate for myself and find more ways to make sure I'm independent and have strategies to manage that.
Yeah, and that's the big thing about developing that understanding for yourself for that independence, because yeah, it's one of those things you're living with as part of your life nowadays. And you talked about your sport, and you've done some amazing things. You know, the Southern Cross Games. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, well, that was really huge for me because I guess, as I said, like playing sport before losing my sight was really important to me. I did Little S growing up and stuff and really enjoyed that, and was lucky enough to go to state athletics with discus a couple of times.
Yep.
And then, yeah, played a lot of tennis and squash sort of through early teenage years. And then when suddenly I couldn't do that anymore, that really questioned my sense of self and those things that were really important, not just to my physical health, but to my mental health and my identity and connection, that sort of competitive drive and outlet that I needed sort of outside of school. So I was really excited when I found out about these games that existed for vision impaired students across sort of
Hmm.
Australasia. And I was really lucky. The first time I went in 2004 was just that year after I'd lost my sight. Not just to be back involved with sport, but to meet other vision impaired students, I guess,
Hmm.
and see that the way they're existing in the world and adapting to that change and things like that, and see that there is a bigger world out there beyond me, and knowing that people have already gone through what I've gone through and have already found solutions to any problems that I might have had. So that was really nice. And then it was really great to go back 2 years later to New Zealand in 2006, a few years on, and to be sort of one of the older students there and
Yep.
to be able to almost mentor some of the younger students. So it was sort of
Yeah.
nice to come full circle.
And were there
And it was
were there sorry, Daniel, were there other students there who were competing with that previously as well, or at the Southern Cross
Yes.
Games? Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. And sort of often you sort of traveled as, like there was Riverina kids and things like there. And there's students from those games that I'm still in touch with now, 20 years on. So I've made good friends from those experiences and that shared journey together. So.
Yeah. That's great. And the NASA Space Camp. So that's not something everyday sort of Barramites get to experience, is it? It's
No, and definitely again, like something I never thought that I would get the opportunity to do. So,
yeah.
like going through that sight loss was is a big thing and it was traumatic. But at the same time, I've got to be honest about the fact that it presented me with some incredible opportunities that I might never have otherwise got.
Yeah.
And it was again with support of wonderful teachers around me that encouraged me to pursue those opportunities and help supported me to get to those opportunities. So yeah, to go over to NASA and have that week at Space Camp, and the concept of Space Camp is probably a thing that people might be familiar with, but what's amazing for this 1 week, it's just for vision impaired kids from all over the world,
Yeah.
and all the
Wow.
things they have available in large print and everything's brailled and stuff like that. And again, for me to be able to meet other vision impaired students from all over the world, and to be able to have the opportunity to share experiences and share something with people that might have understood that same sort of journey of sight loss is incredible. And again, just feel so lucky that I'm still in touch with some of those people and some of
Yeah.
the friends that I made on that journey to this day.
Yeah. And you've got your own business in Albury, Daniel Searle's physiotherapy. Why physio? What made you want to go down that pathway?
Yeah, so initially it was probably that connection to sport and my love of sport that I was honest with myself that I was probably, as much as I love sport, I was never going to be an elite sportsman. So I thought
Yeah,
there was a way to still keep involved with sport as a physio. That was my initial thoughts anyway. And then I think after losing my sight, I probably didn't lose that passion for physio, but probably my motivation shifted a little bit in that I saw how much just a little bit of help from people like occupational therapists and services like Guide Dogs and Vision Australia, those skills that they gave me just made a massive difference in giving me back independence and my identity and sense of control of my life. That I thought it would be amazing if I could then go into a career where I could do that for someone else. And I thought physiotherapy presented that opportunity, and it absolutely has done that. I love that I have the opportunity to work with people that have had injuries or lost their connection to sport or work or hobbies or meaningful activities in whatever way, shape, or form it may be, that I can be part of their journey to get to know them and then help support them to get back to those things that are meaningful to them.
yeah, that's great. And you went from a country high school to a regional sort of CSU as well. And how did you find that experience? Like going from through physio at CSU, were there any practicums, and how was it like getting your first sort of job post graduation?
Yeah, there was a lot of placement involved. So again, Albury turned out to be a great choice for me. That it's obviously bigger than Barham, but it's not too
Yeah,
big that it's
no,
overwhelming. And probably, I guess, similar to Barham High School, that Charles Sturt University is a smaller campus, and you comes with challenges and opportunities in that you're not completely anonymous as a student. So, it's nice in that your lecturers know who you are and know you on a first name basis. So that's good, that makes them very approachable. It comes with a downside that if you miss a class, they will notice. So, you can't just be that anonymous student like, Melbourne or Sydney University. But yeah, again, I was very lucky that they were, for the most part, very supportive classrooms and environments. Again, won't deny the fact that there were challenges along the way. I
yeah,
did have a lot of placements, and that equally presents unique challenges. That, I got sent to Geelong, Wangaratta, Coffs Harbour a couple of times. That
yep,
I think sometimes people didn't always appreciate that it's not just the challenge of the placement that other students have to experience, but for me, it's also the challenge of suddenly I'm being sent to a town that I have no concept of. I don't know where one thing is to the other. I don't know where the supermarket is to go to do my shopping. I don't know anything about the bus routes and stuff like that. And I don't think people always appreciated the extra challenges that presented to me in what's already a stressful experience as being a student on placement. So I'm really proud of the way I handled those things and got through in the end.
yep,
But yeah, again, and it allowed me to meet many people. But again, I guess it helped me to learn to get better at using my voice and articulating my own needs and trying to be more okay with speaking up for yourself and knowing that it's okay to stand out from time to time and be okay with articulating your rights when you need to.
yep. And has there been any standout moments for you in your career so far as working in physio? What's been the
Well,
most memorable sort of thing for you?
yeah, I felt pretty proud that at my graduation I got to speak on behalf of the students, and Bear, my first guide dog, was presented to the student cohort. So
Yeah,
that was really nice. Even just, the small moments of getting my first job was pretty incredible. It's often the little moments that I've done a lot of stuff working with people with long-term pain and giving people back strategies and helping them to overcome something that's been a part of their life for a long time has been really meaningful to me. And I think for me, it's that connection with people that I share that loss of identity. It's not always the actual sight loss, it's what it takes away from you. And I think I found that with people with long-term pain, that it wasn't always about the pain itself, it's what it's taken away from them, that suddenly they can't work, suddenly they can't play with their grandkids. And when I could relate my experience to them and we had that sort of shared experience, and then I could help get them back to being able to do something as small as, spending half an hour with their
Mm.
grandkids, that stuff is really meaningful to me.
Yeah, oh, it's great. And your work with the Guide Dogs Australia and Rex Airlines, what was that involved, and how did you get into that sort of field?
Yeah, I guess it's prior to losing my sight, like through high school and things, I really enjoyed public speaking.
Hmm.
I did a lot of public speaking competitions. I was part of the debating team through high school and was lucky enough to go to the state debating championships in year 9. And again, that was sort of something that I thought once I lost my sight, maybe I wouldn't be able to do that again, not being able to read my speech and things like that or my speaking notes, but I found that it was important enough to me and I enjoyed it enough that I wanted to find a way to do it. So I learned strategies around how to memorize my speaking notes, and I really enjoyed that public speaking. And then I enjoyed the opportunity to sort of use my story and try and educate people and try and make things more inclusive for other people. And then opportunities came up from that I might get invited to schools or to Lions clubs or things like that, and to share my journey. And then was lucky enough with the people I was working with at Guide Dogs, they said you should come and do stuff with us. And yeah, started doing stuff, speaking with Rex Airlines flight attendants and New South Wales public transport people around strategies on how to assist a person who's blind and how to work with guide dogs appropriately and stuff like that. And I've now started working more full time with guide dogs in their social change team, so doing more systemic advocacy, and really excited about that again, that I can use my voice to sort of speak up for others and try and
Yeah,
hopefully make things more accessible and more inclusive for the next generation of people.
that's amazing, Daniel. That's truly amazing to be able to do that and have that impact, not only for yourself but for others. And that's a great trait, Daniel. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, the Blind Bike Challenge in Thailand. That's a recent one, or is that sort of
That's
one?
going back a few years ago now. It's
Yep.
just really lucky that, yeah, through the people I've met around here in Albury Wodonga and Vision Australia and volunteers and things like that, met a lovely man who sadly passed away now, who had connections to a person in Thailand who was starting up a school for vision impaired students, because she realised how she was from an education background and how important her education was to giving her opportunities. So she then wanted to help specifically make a school for other vision impaired students in Thailand who in these communities where they might not get quite as many opportunities as we're lucky enough to have in Australia. So he organised a bike ride that we rode up Falls Creek as a fundraising effort on
Yeah, yeah,
tandem bikes. And so I did
yep,
that a few times and helped fundraise to contribute to her creating that school over in Thailand that's still going years on.
yep. And you've been in the Blind World Cup as well. Um, that those in the Cricket World Cup and the Deaf Games. And how did you get? Oh, I'll stuff that one up. That's we're going pretty good. Um, uh, you've been involved with paratriathlons and Cricket World Cups and the Deaf Games. What keeps driving you to keep challenging yourself with physical challenges as well as that mental side as well?
Um, yeah, I think it's just trying to challenge my own perception of what I'm capable of, and I think there's a lot of pride in making that achievement. So it was really nice when I found out about blind cricket to get involved with that and have some connection back to sport, and then again having that competitive drive to be able to set myself goals to just make the state team and then to captain the state team, and then the opportunity came along to play for Australia, and was lucky enough to go to the West Indies and then later to go to India to the World Cup. And I guess then I sort of had a little bit of a break from cricket and wanted to take on something new. And I'd already been doing a bit of cycling. I like running, and then the opportunity came up to give triathlon a try. Wasn't a strong swimmer, so I did see that as a big challenge, and really proud of the achievements I've had in that. The biggest one being that I completed a half Ironman, which is a 1.9k swim, 90k bike ride, and a 21k run. So really proud of that achievement, and proud that I'm pushing myself to things that I might never have thought I was capable of, even as a sighted person. And so now to be able to do that as a blind person, I think, that's really exciting. And I think every time you do that, you think maybe I can do a little bit more and stuff, and just to push the limits of what you're capable of.
Yeah. So all these experiences and life lessons you've developed over the years. Thinking back to the 16-year-old Daniel, what advice would you give him as a student?
I think the key thing was for me learning that it's okay to ask for help. And that's something I'm still wrestling with now. And that's a big thing for me, that I guess more so as a teenager. Again, nobody wants to stand out. We all want to do our best to blend in and just not draw attention to ourselves. And I was really conscious about just being independent and not getting noticed too much, just doing enough to get by. I didn't like asking for help, but I equally hated when I failed and felt like I'd let other people down and felt like I'd let myself down. And I guess I distinctly remember one moment after moving to university and living in shared accommodation, that would seem like a pretty innocuous moment for most people, but we had an inspection. I thought I'd cleaned my part of the house fine, and the report came back and that I hadn't done a very good job, and I was really upset about that. And when I spoke to another vision impaired friend, they just said, well, why didn't you ask someone for help? And it seems like an obvious question, but at the time I was just too proud that I thought I can do this myself. I don't need help for things like that. And he sort of said how silly that was. And, like at the end of the day, he said, surgeons still need plumbers to come and help them. And I think that sort of helped to me to highlight that we all have skills to give in different contexts, and we all have opportunities to give help in different moments. And there are equally be moments where we will need to receive help. And sometimes you'll be on the receiving end and sometimes you'll be on the giving end. And I think the thing that I equally noticed through those moments through university was there were times when people were asking me to help them with their study, and that made me feel really good about myself, that someone else was wanting my help. So then when I sort of flipped that and went, well, why don't I extend that same courtesy, that if it makes me feel good to help them, why do I not equally think that it would make them feel good to help me, rather than feeling like I'm a burden for asking for help? So and I think back to that time at school, that why would I think that other students would care if I asked for help, or why would I think that the teachers would care if I was asking for help from time to time? Maybe in fact that would actually, they would feel good about helping, and maybe teachers, for example, go into those careers because they like helping and they like the opportunity to give back. So I wish I could have been more comfortable with asking for help earlier on.
Yeah, it's great advice for everyone. As you said, to be able to help someone else, to be able to help support that people through something, or to be able to help them with a task, or makes other people feel great too. So that's great advice, Daniel. What's next for you? You're talking about you're working a bit more full time with the guide dogs, but any sort of triathlons or things where you just putting the feet up for a little bit?
No, I don't think I'm ever putting the feet up. I've actually got the City to Surf coming up, so that's mid-August. So I'm really excited about that. That's the first time I've done that one. That's a 14K challenge, and you can obviously pick a charity partner to do it with. So I'm doing that supporting guide dogs. So really excited about doing that, and the person that will be helping guide me through that. It's the first time we've run together, so I really like being able to, again, learning to be more comfortable with asking for help. That
Mhm.
shared experience that we have when I get someone to guide me, like I'm really proud of them, the work that they have to put in to train with me, and I think that shared sense of accomplishment that you have together, having gone through that, something like that together. So that's coming up in about a month or so. So really excited about that.
So whereabouts can people see your journey with that? Is there a donation? Have you got a profile on the City to Surf?
I do, yes, and I can post it in my public page on Facebook, my Daniel Searle Physiotherapy page, and share it through that channel. But yeah,
Yep. Yep. Oh, we might
and
chuck
I'm
it in
fairly
the
active
in the
on
notes as well.
LinkedIn as well. So
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, terrific.
follow
Yep.
me on
No.
LinkedIn. That's often where I post stuff about my work with guide dogs and things like that. And I've actually started doing training around board governance, and just lucky enough to be accepted onto a board of a not-for-profit disability employment service agency. So
Yeah.
again,
Oh,
excited
terrific.
about that opportunity to give back as well.
Yeah, and that'll be great. Are you looking at doing the AICD director's course or?
I am, yeah. So I was lucky enough to get a sponsorship, part of an observership program that I
Yep.
got to, sit on a board for 12 months, and now they've offered me a place on their board. And then, looking at the opportunity to do the Australian Institute of Company Directors course, and then continue that journey through there. And I think it's really nice that they're actively working to see people with lived experience of
Yeah.
disability on their board.
Yeah, terrific, Daniel. It's yeah, that's great. I really do appreciate you joining us for a podcast today. As I said, sort of said when I first spoke to you, it's about trying to show our students, show our school community that Barham doesn't limit what you can achieve, and you've definitely broken all stereotypes of all of that. We're really proud of you as Barham High School community, and really thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to share my story.
Daniel Searle, what a legend. His story reminds us that barriers can be overcome, that passion can fuel purpose, and that one person really can make a difference. On behalf of everyone at Barham High School, I want to thank Daniel for sharing his journey with us. If you're listening and feel inspired, make sure to share our episode and follow along for more stories from our incredible alumni. You can learn more about Daniel's work with Guide Dogs Australia or support his initiatives by checking out the links in our show notes. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, at Barham High School, your story doesn't end when you leave the school. It's only just the beginning.